Oh, Jesus. What a trip. How's life going? In the big DGG. Thoughts on Merck and Darius. I have not kept up on them at all. But, okay, first announcement. Look, we're selling more merch soon. It might be up right now, actually. Wait. We've got hats. We've got shirts. We've got everything that a person could want. And because it's been the #1 most requested thing. Can I open knives on? Wait, hold on. The knife is already open. We have a DGG knife for cutting boxes and nothing besides that. Don't hurt anybody, okay? Store.destiny.gg. Is it American made? Is it American made? I was told to say that we are handling the fulfillment from start to finish this time. And then I asked, what does that mean? Wait, what did my person... Hold on. What does that mean? It means that these guys will handle the production at their own warehouse, printing, embroidery, quality testing, and fulfillment, shipping, customer return, et cetera, et cetera. And me, are working directly with them at every step, so there is no middleman, no Printful, no Teespring. We have control over each step. And we're doing international shipping, okay? Wow. What, is this knife really $400? God damn, that's a premium knife right there. What is this thing made out of? You could cut steel with it, technically. Steel can cut steel. This is a no pores knife, okay? This is Valerian, forged in dragon fire, okay? Oh my God, imagine if we started making assault rifles. Dude, maybe say middle person. My bad, you're right. Did you sign them? Oh no, that would make sense. Well, no, how would I sign this? It would just fade away if you wash it, no? Are you filling out IOSS, or will us EU cucks have to pay import handling fees? Dog, I don't fucking know the answer to that question. What the fuck? It says you're going to sign a certificate of authenticity. Well, if that's the case, then I guess I am. The Damascus... What, does like the steel come from fucking Syria? Is that what that means? Clip point blade, is that like better steel? Yes, it is. It's the best steel. Offers a balance of elegance and practicality, while the anodized titanium handle is finished with machine satin polish for a premium look and feel. Dual deployment options. Oh my, dual deployment options. A flipper tab and thumb disc. Let you open it however you prefer, and ceramic bearings ensure a smooth, reliable action every time. Will you ever sell the gnome at a campfire t-shirt again? I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know why when people do merch, it's like a one-time thing. Like, why can't we do it again? Maybe that makes you guys buy it more. So this is one time only, and then you're never getting any of this again. Ever again. Okay? Bomber jackets? Oh, we should do that again too. I don't know. I love that shirt, but mine is super faded, so I can't wear it anymore. I think all of my old DGG merch. I don't know how normal it is either, though. Also, I'm bad at taking care of clothes. Like, I just throw everything in the washer. And some people were saying you're supposed to fold it like inside out or whatever. But I think all of the old cute stuff, eventually the design like washes off, basically. Yeah. The Call Me Gunk says we have 12 months planned. He's a merch guy. He's the merch guy, I think. Would you accept Elon back into the Liberal Party? Maybe. I do a lot of thinking on drives. I had to drive from Miami to a place called Sarasota for the 2 days ago. The James Fishback guy. Steven. This guy at my Jubilee debate, he runs a debate league, incubate debate for like high schoolers. And so he invited me on Saturday to sit and basically I had 4 prompts and I would debate anybody that wanted to come up and debate. Destiny, why is the knife so expensive? This literally looks like a scam from someone who knows EDC knives, etc. Can you address this? Talk to Gunk in the chat. I don't do any of the pricing, okay? Talk to Gunk. He's the one there, okay? That does all this stuff. So he hosts like a debate league that kids from different high schools can participate in, and then the winner gets a $10,000 scholarship, which is cute. Although it was like winner take all, which seemed really brutal for the prize pool structure. But the first day I was there, I debated people. I have all the recordings to that. I think I'll be able to upload that hopefully. And then I have and so the second day, I was there to judge. I stayed there. I was one of 12 judges, and then I judged all the debaters, which I thought was a lot of fun. And then afterwards, I got to talk to them all for like an hour about like debate stuff, which I thought was cute because it's like you have a bunch of people that are like super motivated and interested in debate and like going back and forth on how to debate and debate strategy. I thought was really interesting. So. What were you doing? For 4 or 5 days, I was in DC. My son's school does like a field trip thing, and we went to DC to see all of the like different memorial things. I write down stuff to talk about. Hold on, what do I have? I do a lot of thinking when I drive, and I had a friend with me back and forth, so I got to talk a lot. I thought thoughts. Here's my first thought. Wait, actually, before I do this, look. Look at how cute this is. Watch, hold on. Okay. We'll either go back to reading tonight or tomorrow, but okay, look, hold on. It's reading time. Okay, this is action. Okay, action. Okay, we're doing stream, we're doing whatever. But then, wait. Let's see if this loads correctly. God, what? Why is the Nanlite hardware so good? The metal is so good, but the software is so Chinese. Why? Why do it be like that? Whatever. Okay, but look. The back one is supposed to be doing the thing too. But look, I got them all synced up, so it's like a little. The lights are down, and these little guys are like flashing in the background, like we're in a shop and we're just reading things. That the thing on the tube is supposed to be flashing too, though. I don't know why it didn't. God damn it. Hold on. Let me go back and forth again. Destiny's reading the book. I recommended him using the colors I told him to use. I'm literally running the stream. Good job, my schizo friend. make the... Wait, are they synced? Oh, look. So it looks like that one flashing light is causing all the other light, like it's bouncing the light over there, but it's not. There are bulbs hidden there that are on the same synchronized timer. And so we're like in a little shop. I just need like, wait, hold on. Machine shop noises ASMR. I need like some sparks or like some smoke or something. Wait, I can find a better ASMR video. Hold on. Consider getting a home assistant or some other software that can handle the lighting and sound effects for you. There are many options. I don't think any of those would work with the Nan Light stuff, unfortunately. Some of those have overlap with like Hue and a couple other big brands, but for the, I don't know if you would consider Nan Light prosumer or professional. It might be professional, but you either have to do their bullshit ass Chinese Bluetooth software, or for some stuff you can do a 5.2 gigahertz. Is that a transmitter? You can have a transmitter thing, like some things will go by, there's a name for the standard, like a frequency, and then there's one more weird way to do lighting, but like only professional stuff will plug into it. I don't know. And I don't know if you can do like effects on it. That might have to be Bluetooth only, so. What is the brand? Nanlite, Nanlite. We talk about court memes. What am I talking about? I have a hearing tomorrow. Thank God that I'm super hyped for. Was Warren Smith with you at the event? Yes. Destiny, this part is fucking crazy. What's the best case scenario for tomorrow? The best case scenario, which is probably unlikely, but the best case scenario is we do the hearing tomorrow. The judge sees that everything is like so out of whack that not only does the judge toss the case, but he awards us legal fees. Now, chances of that happening to be exceptionally slim, because the other side has to be pretty crazy to get legal attorney fees awarded to the defense, I think. A more realistic outcome, I don't know how realistic, there's like a chance, is that hopefully just the whole thing gets tossed as a result of this preliminary injunction hearing, because the opposition still has no case. And then the next best outcome, which is the most likely one, I think like 95%, is I think the entire preliminary injunction gets tossed. There might be like one part where it's like approved in part and denied in part. I would have to go look at exactly what they're asking for again, but ideally, the whole thing gets tossed. But Destiny, did you read my DM? I forwarded that to my attorneys earlier, actually. Thank you. Yes. Court is tomorrow. A hearing is tomorrow. It's a hearing on just on the preliminary injunction. But the plaintiff is still not provided any evidence for their claim. So technically, right now, if nothing else happens, and I don't even know if anything else can happen at this point, you would say that the court lacks subject matter jurisdiction to hear the case, because the first federal claim they provided no evidence for, meaning that that claim gets tossed, so the whole case gets tossed, so they'd have to refile it in a state court. But who knows, maybe they'll bring in another midnight witness to say some shit. I don't know. Will you be able to stream after the hearing? Yeah, I think I should stream at normal time tomorrow, the real normal time. For the people that have distanced from you since the court, do you want to reconnect with them after this is over? I have like a group of real life friends now that I've made. That's what I usually spend my offline time with. And then I have some new online friends. And then we'll see on this TikTok arc or whatever. It's unlikely that I'll reconnect with anybody though, regardless of what they say or do after the court stuff. I just don't think I need any of those people in my life. Yeah, I'm good on that. Do you think the prosecutor's war chest has been nearly exhausted? I don't even know if they're paying any legal fees. The whole case feels like a pro bono, like family friend gift, basically, or favor. So. Beard growing back someday. It's almost there. Hi, I'm progressive and Jewish. I feel alienated from progressive since 10/7. How can I engage with allies? Or how can I engage when allies feel hatred for my family and IL and community? In IL? What is IL? Illinois? Behind the scenes, are you still friends with the Twitch peoples? Fuck no. I don't think I'm behind the scenes friends with anybody that it doesn't seem like I'm online friends with, except for like all the real life friends I have now. Thank God. So yeah, it is what it is. When is your new car arc? I don't know. We'll see. I can't imagine you reject offers to work on teams with those people in the future for real political actions. Maybe, we'll see. I don't know, it depends. I don't think I want to waste any time like helping anybody or providing anything to anybody that's not like in it to win it, okay? Or is like a little bit more, I guess, on the same team. It feels too stupid. The new Corvette is sick as fuck. True. I like Corvettes. I think they're good. You wrote down thoughts before the rabbit hole of questions. Yeah, I know. I've got them written down still. Your next gun purchase? Who knows? I think I'll probably get a pistol caliber carbine. So whatever that is. Okay, hold on. Let me talk about stuff. Oh, DMX. Bruegel, yes. DMX is the other standard I was talking about. But I don't know if you can use special effects for DMX. And I don't think like Alexa, is it Alexa? Or Alexi? The Amazon thing, or Google, or whatever the fuck the talking guys are, or Siri, whatever. I don't know what the fuck, the Google Home. I don't think I can do effects on those things. The Dylan Vadim con was pretty boring. The Hutch one with Loner and Mudahar is hilarious though. Okay, I might watch that instead. How the fuck did you make IRL friends? I'm super curious how one does that after university. I can't help you at all there. I'm sorry. I'm still lucky that people DM me because I'm famous. So, and then I just meet them and hang out, and then we, yeah, click, and then I meet their friends through friends and everything. Yeah. The wall is too white. It makes it blinding and still doesn't light up the black guns. Wait, what are you guys talking about? There's no way to light the guns. They're guns. They're black, okay? They'll never be lit up. Okay, hold on. Stuff. Okay. I had thoughts. I did a field trip with my son's class I don't know if you'd call them 8th graders or high school freshmen. They are they're like in between. They're graduating. They all graduated from 8th grade and they're going into high school or whatever. It was really boring and I hated being there the whole time. And the reason why is because none of the kids wanted to be there. Like, it was obvious that that they were just there to like chat with themselves. Like, nobody actually gave a fuck about any of the history or anything. So I felt like super cringe where I'm like, oh my God, it's like, look, the Liberty Bell, or, you know, the Abe Lincoln. He's a big dude, by the way. I don't know, what do you call it? The Abe Lincoln Monument? Abe in the chair? It's like a Dark Souls boss. He's a huge guy. The Liberty Bell in DC. Listen, DC, Philly, honestly, every East Coast city is like all the same in my brain. Like, I actually even code like Boston and New York together. Like, I have so many friends in Boston. There are so many times where I'm in New York. I'm like, oh shit, like I'm in New York. We should like hang out. And then I like Google Maps it and it's like a fucking 6-hour drive or something. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Is it 6 hours or is it 4 hours from New York City to Boston? Oh no, I'm sorry, 3.5 hours, but it's still far away. And then it's even further if you're down in fucking, yeah, Philly or whatever. Okay, sorry, the Liberty Bell was in Philadelphia. Oh, and I should know that because I learned stuff. Like in Philadelphia, because I was the only one paying attention on the fucking tours. In Philadelphia, the government was there, I guess, for like 9 years while they were building the Capitol and everything in DC. So in Philadelphia, I think George Washington spent his 2 terms there. The Congress, the first Supreme Court, they all like, that was like the first Capitol government hosting place, which, there you go. There's some knowledge. So okay, so I went on this trip. The kids didn't really care that much, which makes me not care that much because now I feel like a nerd because I'm the only one here invested in any of the history. And it's wild that you, until you were 30, you told everyone you hated museums, history tours, etc. And now you're complaining that everyone else isn't super hyped for museums. Yes, okay, let me explain this why. It all ties in, okay? So sometimes you guys will point out something on stream that I don't know, like there's a lot of random shit I don't know, like who the 3rd president of the United States is or any shit like that. There's just a lot of like random facts I don't know. Oh, here's the thing. Wait, what the fuck? Maybe you guys don't know this. Do you know how many US presidents have been assassinated? I thought it was like I would say like 1, but then I'd be like, oh no, there was like 2. But there's like 4. It's kind of a dangerous job. That's like I feel like that's a fairly high assassination rate. Like 10% of US presidents have been assassinated? That's kind of crazy. No? What the fuck? Yeah, I think like statistically that literally might be the most dangerous job in the country. I don't know. But so for me, one of the things for me is I usually learn things best when I have like a conceptual framework for ways to understand things. Like, oh, okay, I get this because of this and that and that and that. I understand all the things around it, and then it helps me understand things better. And since I have started taking like reading and studying more seriously a little bit, the history stuff is more interesting to me because rather than, like in my mind, history was like the worst thing in the world because history is literally, it's just a bunch of discrete things that you have to memorize that don't make sense at all. And sitting down and reading stuff and studying, I'm like, oh, wait, well, no, history is actually, it's kind of like math. It all builds off of itself, right? It's very causally related, right? Literally causally related. An event happens, and then something else happens, and then it causes something else to happen. It's like, oh, okay. And it's more interesting then, because now I understand, like, oh, this guy who's a figure here, who was in the military here, is now the leader here, and he has these feelings about these people here, because that thing happened over there. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. And I feel like history is way more interesting, and the things that we learn about our country are more interesting when you connect it to what's happening today. And so all of this to come back around, I feel like one of the reasons, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I'd like to see it practiced. I feel like one of the reasons why history is so fucking boring when you're a kid, or at least it was for me, and clearly these kids didn't give a fuck, is because teachers have to try so hard to be apolitical and not bring politics into the classroom in any way, size, shape, or form. But how could you ever do that? If you really think about it, how could you teach government and not talk about the current system ever? How could you teach the history of political practice and power in the United States and not relate it to anything that's going on in modern America, you know? And maybe your guys' classes were different, but yeah, in our classes, you know, there was literally nothing to teachers just generally weren't political. We had a chemistry teacher who was very political, but that's it. But I guess it's kind of funny because it ties into me with the frustrating thing of how when you talk to people, you might have like a whole bunch of conceptual understandings between each other. I'm using conceptually differently here. Like these ideas of like, oh, we should all treat people equally, and oh, we should be nice to our neighbor. But then when you get down to the policies, one side is like, that's why we need to deport every single immigrant who's brown from this country so we can take care of our white neighbors. And another person might be like, oh, this is why we need to import as many people as possible so that we can take care of our neighbors. Like, oh, okay, hold on. Whatever you guys have in common that you think you have in common fundamentally, it's playing out in an applied way way, way, way differently. And yeah, I wonder sometimes for kids that are studying history, and maybe you guys didn't have this problem. Maybe this is just a problem I had in my school. But I feel like when we did history and stuff in school, we never really tied it into current events ever, and except in like the broadest of forms. Like somebody will say something like, and we have the First Amendment, and that's why you're allowed to post on social media. Like it'll be a very, very broad thing, and nobody gets into any of the specifics or how things tie in specifically to today. And I feel like if people did that more, I feel like kids would care more about it, because a lot of the stuff that, you know, when we're learning about Abe Lincoln and the freeing of the slaves and the Civil War, like there's a whole bunch of parallels that you can talk about and tying things in between, you know, like the problems and the issues that we felt back then in the United States versus stuff that we maybe feel now. But the reluctance to tie any of that in, it makes it just feel very, it makes it feel very sterile, right? I feel like, I actually felt this way sometimes studying music. That's a different conversation topic though. But like history feels very sterile to me in a classroom setting. It's a thing that is meant to be like observed behind a glass. Is it an antiquarium? What do you call like the setup of all the figurines and stuff that's like preserved? It's just like very, very sterile and boring and historical, as in like old and whatever. And it's like a story, a reliquary, diorama, maybe something like that. Yeah, and it just feels boring. I wish that they were related more to modern stuff. Otherwise, I don't think this might be a hot take. I don't think they should bother teaching it. I think they should just teach other shit. Do math and English and save history for later on, when kids are responsible enough to be, like actually politically engaged or whatever. But yeah. Are you going to watch the Jubilee video about Elon Musk? Maybe. Here's a random question because I'm too lazy to study the history. And I know my chat, you guys are all super big brain guys. And you're going to have the quickest, easiest, exact answer to this. Why, when the United States was doing the Civil War, why didn't any other countries come in and try to like take over? What the fuck was going on in Europe in the late 1800s? Not worth the effort? Big ass ocean. France did in Mexico. Who the fuck cares about Mexico? They were busy with France v. England and Napoleon shit. Oh, okay. Maybe the US wasn't big enough to give a fuck about, maybe? Napoleon was like 50 years earlier. Derpstiny. Damn. The Brits were leaning towards the Confederacy, but the public was largely against it, especially after the Emancipation Proclamation. How did the world react to the American Civil War? Oh. Well, hold on. Let's do a quick...
It shouldn't surprise you that when the American Civil War broke out, it was pretty big news all over the world. But how did the rest of the world react to the American Civil War? And did they plan to do anything about it? So, before starting, it's important to know that the USA wasn't seen by many of the world's nations at this time as a major player. A rising star for certain, but the USA wasn't seen as being equal to Europe's great powers, not even Austria. As such, many leaders saw the American Civil War as being a bit of a sideshow to events in Europe at the time, like the wars in the Italian Peninsula or that time that the Danish provoked Prussia into a war. Europe's major players sent observers to the USA to see what tactics and technologies were being used, and they were, frankly, not impressed with the quality of warring going on. As for reaction, starting with the USA's neighbour to the south, Mexico, its government's initial reaction was one of awkward silence. It had just finished its own civil war, and due to its previous war with the USA, there was no love lost. Not that it had much time to think about it, since in late 1861 the French invaded, and so they'd spend the rest of the war having their own problems. As for the north, Canada was a series of British imperial domains at this point, and as such its foreign policy was determined in London. That said, the people of Canada were firmly in the camp of the Union, and many thousands...
Just ask Grok, you fucking loser. How fucking cringe. How fucking cringe is it that everybody does that on Twitter now? Like, oh, Grok, is this true? But then when Grok says something they don't like, then they like debate it anyway, and then they don't even agree with it. It's like, okay, well...
of volunteers went south to fight against the Confederacy. Whereas to the British, the American Civil War was seen as a surprise and one which complicated Britain's foreign policy. You see, Britain imported a lot of cotton from the now Confederate states, and given that many parts of the country financially depended on them, the British were keen to see the war end quickly for economic reasons. Now, this didn't have to be a Union win, and British shipyards produced several warships for the Confederate states. The Confederacy hoped that Britain would recognise its independence, which would likely lead France to do the same and would strengthen its position diplomatically. Britain never did this though because it didn't want the United States to invade Canada, wars were expensive, and the overwhelming majority of the British public supported the Union, especially when the cause of the war moved from restoring the Union to abolishing slavery. And over the years, many thousands of people living in the British Isles, overwhelmingly Irish, went to the US to fight for the Union. Thus, the Confederacy got little help. As for the French, its reaction was the same as the Austrians, that these developments were a welcome surprise. It allowed Franco-Austrian intervention in Mexico so that Maximilian Habsburg could be placed on the throne there to increase their influence in the New World, and also to give back the money that Mexico was refusing to pay its creditors. Both nations had unofficial contact.
I thought those are all irony posting asking Grok? No, I don't think so.
With the Confederacy over mutual recognition. Yet neither France nor Austria did anything because they knew it would mean...
Yeah, Dave Rubin citing Grok on peers? Yeah, that was wild. I have a whole fucking soy rant I'm going to do on that. Give me 10 minutes. We'll get to that. Hold on.
Both nations had unofficial contact with the Confederacy over mutual recognition. Yet neither France nor Austria...
Oh, true. Also, real quick. Follow me on TikTok. I think I need 1,000 followers there. So here, I'm linking this in chat. God damn it. What is this? Whoa, TikTok is based? Not Nazi stuff. I'm getting porn. I'm not getting porn, though. There's a woman with a camera looking at the mirror, and she's doing this with her hand, and she looks to be naked behind her hand, but you can't make any of it out. But the caption is, "What color next?" which might mislead you into thinking it's about her nail polish, but I think it's actually a deceptively created video to allure and entice young men. Okay, sorry, hold on. Why don't you use your @Destiny Debates TikTok account? Because supposedly when you're doing lives, you just get banned like crazy on TikTok. So my guess is I'm going to have to keep making new accounts. So I'm just using this one for now. And then if it gets banned, I'll go to the next. Here you go. I need 300 more followers.
Austria did anything because they knew it would mean war with the United States. Whereas Prussia's reaction to the outbreak of the Civil War wasn't one of shock, but that it brought with it opportunity. Despite being disappointed with the quality of their troops and tactics, Prussia favoured the Union. Prussia was itself a very conservative state, but its leadership knew that acting against the Union would negatively impact its image amongst the very pro-Union German-speaking world, which, as you'll know, it was trying to unite, and so by pushing itself as a firm ally of abolitionism and the Union, Prussia's image amongst the German-speaking world could be improved with very little effort. And what about Russia? American leadership was bolstered by a large Russian fleet sailing to their coast, which they hoped would help them blockade the Confederacy, but fun fact, no. The fleet was actually there to stop itself from being caged up in the Baltic Sea in case of war with Britain, as tensions between the...
Photo shoot when? Good question. Actually, I realize this. I have like fucking 20 million fucking studios around here, and I'm always like, oh, I'll do photos eventually. But I should just buy a camera and I can just do my own headshots, right? But I need, you really can't take pictures on Blackmagic cameras, or I'm just retarded. Trying to take a picture on a Blackmagic, the pocket cams or whatever, I don't think those are camera, those are not like picture cameras. Those are definitely video cameras. I need to find I could just do it on my iPhone too, but.
But fun fact.
Did you use your A7 III? Dude. I will admit the Blackmagic cameras probably have the best user interface of any of the major cameras systems that I've ever seen. But even though they might be the best, the Sony ones are insanely convoluted. Fuck Sony menus on cameras. Holy shit. What the fuck?
And what about Russia? American leadership was bolstered by a large Russian fleet sailing to their coast, which they hoped would help them blockade the Confederacy. But fun fact, no. The fleet was actually there to stop itself from being caged up in the Baltic Sea in case of war with Britain, as tensions between the two were high. Tsar Alexander II was an outspoken ally of Lincoln and pushed for the total destruction of the Confederacy. And as for the Ottoman reaction, they were overwhelmingly pro-Union. They signed a trade deal with the Union, banned Confederate ships from their waters, and also made a ton of money since they were the second best source of cotton for European markets and their main competitor had just been blockaded.
Just pay $500 for a professional to do something. So I had a guy show up, I think I mentioned this a couple months ago, who wanted to take very stylistic flights. Flights? I'm sorry, I just opened my emails and I saw flights. I'm sorry. Very stylistic photos. And he did that, and I asked him to take some normal headshots as well, and he did. But I wasn't dressed properly for him. I didn't even think about it. And I don't know why he didn't tell me. So I actually just recently got some new headshots stuff, but they're not, I would never post these because I think I'm wearing like a t-shirt. And I'm like, wait, I should have put on like a button up or something for this. The A7 IV has a new menu. Okay. It's annoying because they're like, it's like a decent picture, but it's just not. I should be wearing a different shirt. These are maybe, I think these are a tad, why, everybody that photographs me always wants to do really dramatic shots too. I think these are maybe a little bit too dramatic actually. The lighting's a little too dramatic, but here's one of them, hold on. Why would he shoot me in a t-shirt? I should have put a different shirt on. I didn't even think about it. Fuck me. I think this is too dramatic, actually. I just need, like, standard headshots. I'm just smiling and looking at the fucking camera. Am I allowed to? I think he's doing. I can't really post any of that, so he's working on it. Do I get a kiss on the forehead if I'm one of the first 1,000 TikTok followers? That's the secret technique seduction move. Don't do that one, okay? Are the measurements of different sizes in your store accurate? They seem way too big, like way too big. Listen, we're Americans, okay? What are you, fucking Europe? The armory lighting is growing on me. I think it's okay. I wish I didn't have like a white wall. I wish I had like I just need a whole ass, I need a vibe. Some kind of vibe back there, not that kind of vibe. I need like I need a shop. I need a car shop back there. That's what I need. With a lift and all the wires and the... Length. Do you usually measure shirts? Width. Wait, like width where? I don't know how to measure t-shirts. Listen, just use the fucking size chart, okay? Get some concrete effect wall tiles or some shit. True based. Will there be a chance to talk to you after the Queen's event? I mean, I usually do photos and sign stuff or whatever. Hold on.
Needed. All in all, the world's reaction to the outbreak of the Civil War was one of initial surprise, followed by it asking itself, how can this benefit me? I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for watching, with a special thanks to my patrons, James Bissonette, Sam, Kelly Moneymaker, the pastry section, Danny Maloney.
Okay. Boring. Couldn't you hang a curtain in front of the white wall? So I said that before, that I wanted to hang a curtain up here to hide this top thing, which I kind of, like, I don't like how that looks up there. Maybe I'll do something different with it. But when I look at this whole scene and I think of like the composition of how it looks, if I were to just like, because I'd be extending this darkness to like a curtain here, I actually think it would look really bad. So as annoying as like this stuff is up here, I think I'm better off either, wait, fuck me, trying to like replace this stuff or do something. But I think hanging a curtain, I think would actually look really bad. And so, yeah, get fucked. Whoops. Oh, I could put the ammo boxes up there, I guess. They're on the floor right now. Whatever, dude. I'll figure it out. The background needs to be a bit sharper. It looks way too washed out. Washed out, or you mean blurry? We call that bokeh. I could do a higher f-stop, but then I would need to... No, it should be out of focus. Fuck you. It's fine. So the Pac-Man bridge burned because he backed out of the event. I'm from New York and was looking forward to seeing you both. I don't know. It's annoying because he was made aware of everything, and then they signed the contract, and then I don't even care. Fuck contracts. Who cares about contracts? Whatever. But we announced the event, and then people started buying tickets, and then they pulled out, and it's like, hold on, bro. We've already got people that are like scheduled. Fucking, this is like Creator Clash 3 now. What the fuck? Why do you pull out? They said it was just because they got emails, so which also sounds really stupid, but... Okay, hold on. I wrote more stuff down. Okay, delete this. Schools should talk about politics, okay? That's where I ended with that. This was just me going crazy. Oh, I connected two thoughts in my mind that I don't think, like I've had like, define how though? Like when we talk about like civil rights and when we talk about, you know, whatever old legislation passes, fuck, I don't actually even know the relationships as well. Look, and that's my teacher's fault. But when we talk about like title stuff for education, some of this originated with civil rights, didn't it? Like Title IX and stuff? Did this come with the Civil Rights Act? Title IX, USA. Part of the Education Amendments of 1972 is federal civil rights. Okay, maybe this was a separate thing. I don't know if it relied on it. Why do I feel like I always hear like... I mean, I guess it's a type of civil rights. When we talk about civil rights, we're talking about black people. We're not talking about women, okay? Let's be real, all right? Destiny, civil rights is literally a footnote in A push because it's at the very tail end when the class is rushing to finish. Oh, true. Maybe, yeah. But I mean, there's stuff that you can learn about in the past that I think applies to how stuff works today. And I think you can speak about how the government works today and the roles of the government and what everybody's doing in relation to what the founding fathers thought. Like when we were going through we read the first 20 Federalist Papers, like, and their stuff was like, oh shit, this makes sense. Or I understand why this, yeah, I don't know. Don't you guys have a civics class? Why not do it there? I didn't have a civics class growing up. Maybe you guys did, or maybe that's a private school thing, but. Oh, and then back to this event. This debate event I did, dude, right-wingers are, this James Fishback guy is like very much like a all-in Trump supporter. But this event and the league that he hosts and everything, it was so wholesome. It was so cute and nice. And all these kids went up and these guys are like 14 to 18. All of them did a stellar job. They had their arguments prepared. They had to do like live rebuttals. They had to do live cross-examinations. These guys are like, these are miniature people. They're like 15, 14, 16 years old on stage doing this, and they're doing it live, and they're being judged. And it's, it was a really cool event. And it was really impressive, especially, I don't want to say given the age, like, oh, they're kids. Like, it was just impressive, period. But it's also really impressive. I just hate that there must be left-wing people that do this, and I'm just not seeing it or something. But these right-wing people are so good at like organizing stuff and doing stuff in the real world. Like, this guy has this whole ass debate league with all these high schoolers from different schools around the state and the country, I think. And it's just and it's not even like an overtly political event, although, they are kind of getting some political input, right? Because he's the leader. I'm not trying to say he's doing this insidiously, but just like by nature of being, or by virtue of being around, a bunch of conservatives or whatever, you're probably going to pick up some other stuff like, yeah. It's so annoying how good right-wing people are at like organizing stuff. And I feel like, left-wing people don't organize as much, but I have a thing for this. What was the next thing? Okay. I've spoken about two different things recently, and for some reason I hadn't connected these ideas in my mind much, okay? So one thing that I've spoken about is that the right in the United States of America, okay, there is this thing called politics. Wait, real quick. Hold on. Somehow I clicked an option on OBS, not on OBS, I don't think. I think it's on Discord to make it put notifications on literally every single fucking thing I have. And I don't know where that came from. Why is it doing this now? I swear to God, I've never touched this option in my life. It's popping up things on like OBS and things on my desk. I don't know why this ever happened. I don't need it. I don't want it. Hold on. Appearance? No. Accessibility? No. Notifications. Enable desktop notifications off. Why is it on, why am I getting like stuff appearing on my OBS? It's not showing up for you guys. It's like part of the, hold on. Settings, game overlay, enable overlay. Is that it? Hold on. Oh, no, yes. Turn this shit off. We'd love to learn more. I didn't even ask for this to be on. Why are you giving me a survey? I don't care. No, fuck you, skip. Delete, disable. Oh, tricky. Okay, I respect it. They, nice. I guess in the last update, they turned this on to force people to use it. Okay, fuck you. Okay, thank you. Thank God. Jesus. Overlay literally injects itself in every process, actual malware behavior. And it's just like so not helpful. I've never thought like, God, I wish I could just get my random messages to pop up in another fucking program. Ever. Hold on one sec. I legit wonder who uses that ever. Well, the way that it works, my guess is the way that it works is if you have it on by default, people just get used to seeing it, and then eventually you've just kind of bred like a new kind of customer behavior as a result of making it opt out instead of opt in. So people get used to seeing it, and then you can slowly add to it over time. Ugh. And by last update, you mean one of the last 12 updates since you last streamed? True. Discord is literally competing with Steam for the most amount of useless fucking updates. Hey, does any plans to upload more from the Israel trip soon? The first part's really interesting. I imagine they're working on it. Whoever they, quote unquote, they are. Okay. Done with that. Okay, so one thing that I've said is the right is very much, okay, politics. The right is very much concerned with politics. So politics is like, in my mind, politics is the acquisition of political power. If you are practicing politics in a democracy, you're trying to get people to vote for your guy, right? You want people to vote for your guy so that you can hold elected office, so that you can enforce whatever policies, you know, you think are right or good or the best for the country, right? And I said that the feeling that I have in the online communities is the left kind of practices something different than politics, where the goal isn't to get people to vote for somebody. They're doing something different. It looks like politics, and they say it's politics, but it's not politics. It's something different. If you want to be really mean about it, then some people on the right, maybe even Richard Hanania said this. That one guy, I think, who did like the coddling of the American mind might talk about this. But the left is practicing kind of like a social signaling, or it's more like a social, like a group thing, where you signal to people that you're part of like this in-group, and you do it with political issues, but that's all you're concerned about, is kind of like protecting your in-group. And one thing that I noticed, because my friend who is so original made the 4 millionth joke to me that people have made, where they're like, oh, hey, well, if your shit gets like super fucked, you can always just do a why I left the left thing and become a Christian and join the right. And then I'm kind of talking about this back and forth. And then this topic comes up of like, why? Like, why? Why are the right so forgiving of everything? Like, why is it that the right can, you know, take people back or not hold people to this like high standard of behavior, whatever, and the left does it? And then I realized, I don't think I've ever had this revelation before. This never clicked me on stream before. But I realized why, and the answer is really obvious. The answer is because the right is not interested in purity testing. I think I was close before to understand this when I said, well, they do purity tests, but they purity test around voting for the candidate. The reason why the right doesn't purity test is because the goal of the right is to practice politics. All the right wants to do, fundamentally, is win elections. The left does not want to win elections, or at least the far left or the left online people. Their goal is not to win elections. Their goal is something different. I don't know what it is, but their goal is something different. And I realize now, I think that is the answer to when you're wondering, like, why is the right so accepting of people who are coming from the left? You don't see people doing like, why I left the right and why I joined the left, you know, because the left isn't even accepting of those people. Once a Nazi, always a Nazi, or once if you supported this guy ever, or you said this 15 years ago, you know, we're never taking it. And it's like, well, why? And I think I understand now. It's because in their mind, the goal, the end goal, is some sort of, I don't want to use the word purity because it's overused, but it's some sort of like social group that has to have like a set of beliefs in order for you to belong to it, to feel good about being in that group, and then you reinforce that. And you're like practicing some kind of like basically like a social club, which isn't necessarily bad. Like you can have clubs and you can have groups and you can have popular groups and in-group, out-group preference and all that. That's fine. But when you call it politics, I think that that's really bad because they're not doing politics. And so something that I thought was interesting and something I used to complain about a lot is we're playing by two different sets of rules, and that's untenable. We can't have it so that the right is, you know, in the, I don't want to say in the dirt, in the mud. They're playing a totally different game than what the left plays when it comes to politics. And I'm talking mainstream left people now, like Democrats or whatever, in terms of being willing to break rules. But then I notice online, there's also, in terms of the alternative media spaces, they're also playing a different game. I think the right plays a morally abhorrent and disgusting game when it comes to how they exercise power. I think they do it in an authoritarian manner, and I think there's no place for it in the United States of America. But when it comes to how they exercise their social power, I think that the right actually exercises social power more effectively than the left does, because they exercise it for political ends and not social whatever ends, or not like, I'm trying to use a bunch of negative words, but not for like popularity groups, and not for just like empty virtue signaling that's not backed up by electoral consequences. Because I keep going back to thinking, I'm like, imagine if you're on the right and you really think that like the 2020 election was rigged, how are you still going out and voting in 2024? Like these motherfuckers, they think that the whole world is against them, but they still show up at the polls and they still actually vote. What the fuck? So yeah, that all that to further my idea that I think that we do have to start being, and I already have been, I guess, and I'll continue to be. We need to be really brutal on cutting people out of the left that are not politically oriented in the political sphere. So like if people want to be like activists or like social commentators or whatever online, like people like Hassan, I guess, then they can do that. That's fine. But we shouldn't confuse those people as being members of or representatives of the Democratic Party. And we shouldn't confuse those people as our allies. They're not. And we shouldn't treat those people like they're politically active. They're not. They're doing something fundamentally different. And I'm not saying that thing is bad. There's room in a society for everybody. Well, not everybody, but there's room for like a whole bunch of different types of behavior of activists, of social, movements and groups that aren't necessarily maybe like looking at political ends. Like that's fine. That can exist, but we can't mix that up with like a political mission. How do you do that? I don't actually know. The reality is I'm looking for new factorial mods so I can retire and say fuck all this shit. Because the reality is, and it's depressing, and I don't, and it's also hard because like I have to obviously, I'm being very, it sounds conceited, self-conceited or whatever when I say this, but like you need more people like me who are willing to stand tall on liberal beliefs, but immediately disavow lunatics to the left. And I don't know why, but it just seems like nobody is able to do that. Gavin Newsom kind of did with some of the trans stuff, but even he's like kind of a pussy about it. And when he started to get a ton of pushback, it feels like he was like waffling on it a little bit. But you have to have, oh, like Ezra Klein is a good example. That's a guy. You have to have somebody who's willing to come out and say, I disagree with Trump on almost everything, but this like socialist shit is fucking cringe, and we need to have real conversations about real policies that are going to make this country a better place. And nobody seems to be willing to do that. I don't know why. Nobody in the center left is willing to fight to the left ever. It's just so fucking annoying. It's so fucking annoying. But what is their political goal? On the far left, like the online agitator type people, they don't have a political goal because they're not practicing politics. They're doing something different. And I think that's why, like for instance, like look at all the people, the Antifa protesters and the Gaza protesters or whatever for the war. Those people were only protesting basically Democrats and Democratic events and everything. And why? And then shitting on Democrats. But like why? Because they're not conservatives. But really, in my mind, it's so funny because people will say like the leftists are doing what I want us to do. That's the funny thing. When I say leftists, I mean socialist communists. I'll say something like we need to excise these people from our camp. And then sometimes people will say we can't afford to do that. We can't lose anybody. Like we need everybody we can get. But then when you look at what they're doing, they're trying to excise us. Like I think one of the big reasons why leftists, why socialists and ultra progressives, why they protest like Democrats almost exclusively is because people know they're not conservatives, but they want you to know that they're definitely not Democrats. They sure as fuck are not the evil liberals, the Democrats. There's something way different. And that separation, the differentiation is incredibly important to them. And I think that's what drives a lot of the protests and stuff, which again, isn't necessarily bad. It's just a different type of thing. It's not the politics that I think we should be practicing, but because it's not politics, they're doing something different, I think. Yeah. What do you think of even non-political people being absorbed into the right, like XQC, who now call CNN libtard media? Well, I think that's just because you literally, besides me, actually, I shouldn't just say me. The Bulwark people are good. Scott Galloway is good. And Kara Swisher, Ezra Klein, obviously. I think that these people do a good job. And they're getting more popular, which is good. We need more people like that, I think. Wait, did I watch this on stream or did I watch this personally? Did you guys see the argument for why the best cabinet member is RFK? I will take credit for these people. being brave enough to do this, okay? Because I attacked the firefighter. Maybe, maybe not. But like, we need more of this.
You go
You go
We'll go
first.
back. We'll do snake draft. The best cabinet secretary is actually RFK.
Hey, JBL.
You be quiet and listen.
I'm the best because you can't hear me. Is it because of Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Because these people need to get their consequences. You want to stop vaccinating your kids? You want to start drinking raw milk? I'm sitting back with my MMR and all my old man shingles vaccine. Have at it, Cletus.
Okay, I clearly took this exercise far too literally. It didn't occur to me to be like, the one who's gonna kill your children's my favorite, because that's what people deserve.
We just need more people who are brave, okay? We need more brave people, all right? Somebody said the good faith argument is that progressives know they have no chance of influencing conservatives, but have a chance to influence libs and Dems since they're closer politically. No, that's not a good faith argument, because that's not a real argument. That's a bad faith argument, because you're making up excuses for a side that doesn't need them. That's a bad faith argument. That's like saying the steel man of Nazi Germany was that Jewish people actually all were secretly trying to destroy the country, and Hitler really had a really strong belief in that. And they did a lot of research, and they really figured that out. That's a bullshit ass. Don't do this thing where you steel man, good faith or whatever stuff that's not what they think. That's clearly not what they think. And the reason why is this. Let me tell you this, okay? So there are two statements that I'm going to connect. I haven't connected these before, but I got a lot of connections. My brain connected things, okay? So one thing that I've said before is the left will always find a reason not to vote for a candidate, and the right will always find a reason to vote for a candidate, okay? Do you know who says? You want to know a really popular saying in our side of the internet is, I don't want to support the lesser of two evils? You will never, ever, ever hear a conservative say that if they don't like their candidate. I don't want to support the lesser of two evils, because they are always voting for who they think furthers their interests. So no, the idea that the left only mass protests, the far left only mass protests Democratic candidates because they want what's best for their movement, and then they don't vote, bullshit. That's not true, and that's not what they're doing. And when you give that charitable interpretation, you are a Nazi. You're just as bad as them, and you should feel bad for doing that. That's not what they do. That's not what they do. It's just not what they do. Like, yeah, blue no matter who is literally, the leftists use this to attack you. Like, that's a pejorative on the left. And the right use it to attack us. But on the right, you better believe, what, red or dead? Like, they're always voting their candidate. I feel like the consequences shit doesn't even matter, though. Look at COVID. It's not like anyone looked at the deaths in America compared to other countries and said, maybe Trump was wrong on lockdown, or I agree with you that these are all problems as well. But I'm always trying to find, like, what is, like, the fundamental problem, or what's, like, the, you know, if you fix this thing, other things will start to fall in line. I think this is a big piece of that puzzle, because we're spending so much time, like, warding off attacks from the left and the right and figuring out, like, where are we? And the feeling I have, and maybe I'm wrong, or I'm not watching the right media, or maybe the rest of the Democrats don't agree. The feeling I have, though, is that the Democratic Party is still kind of wandering and looking for, like, its identity. It doesn't really know who it is yet, the Democratic Party. And I think the reason why is because the reason why the Democratic Party can't find itself is because they're trying to appeal to multiple groups of people. And one of those large groups of people are a people who don't want to practice politics. And I just think that's a huge issue. Like, imagine spending 5 years trying to win the love and support of some guy, and you do everything from, you buy him shit, and you help him out with projects, and you recommend friends and family, and you take him out to dinner and bowling, you do all these things, and then imagine, like, 5 years later, you break into this guy's house, and you're like, bro, I feel like it's literally 50-50 on whether or not you got my back. What the fuck is going on? And the guy's like, oh, well, every single morning I flip a coin, and if the coin is heads, then I'm nice to you, and if it's tails, then I don't give a fuck about you. Like, when you'd see that, you say, okay, well, what the fuck? Well, fuck you. I don't need this. Why would I even be nice to this? Wait, what the fuck? Right? And I think that that's what the Democrats need to realize for some people. We need to not incorporate into our political movements non-political actors. And people like Hassan and these people, these are not political people. I mean, just look at them. Like, look, where are their passions? What political project has Hassan ever taken part in? Right? Or any of these like far lefty types. Jesus Christ, what Emma Vigeland or whatever, when we were at that event where it was me, her, and Vosh, and Emma is sitting up there on some panel we're on, and she's like, oh, well, I'm just an online commentator. Like, you know, I don't even know if anybody would even listen to me anyway, LOL. I'm like, why the fuck? What are you doing up here? Like, that was such a mind fuck moment for me, because I'm like, oh, wait, what are we doing? I thought we were kind of doing politics a little bit. No, isn't that like the whole point of what we are doing? Yeah, I don't know. No, I do know. That's not good. We need to not anyway. Hold on. This guy said I didn't read his dono. Destiny, the only way to win is to claim and rebrand centrism. So you are not part of progressivism whilst being able to condemn the right. No, but I don't want to, no, fuck centrism. Just be a Democrat, be on the left. Is it possible that people genuinely think they have political chances with their insane far left candidates? Like the people advocating for the socialist guy for the New York State mayoral race seem to legitimately think they can get him elected, for example. Maybe people might think that, and that's fine. I think that primaries are a good place to fight for your radical candidates. But if your radical candidate doesn't win, well, then you vote for the next one. You vote for the Democrat. That's what you should do. But if their radical candidate loses, I think they just lose interest and they drop out completely. Do you think it's more likely that Dems kick out the far lefties and the country corrects course, or does the left fall into populism like the right did, disregard the Constitution, and we descend into civil war? The problem is the far left would never do civil war either, because they don't care about shit like that. They just want to like post on social media and stuff. It sounds like I'm being facetious, but I'm really not. That is truly their goal. It's a social movement and like a social group, and they get clout and they get friends and they get like activities, and it's all in the furtherance of that. The far left is populist, sure, and the far right is populist, but the far right is populist and they're concerned with electoralism. And the far left, I mean, explicitly aren't. They literally say they don't believe in electoralism. They literally say like, the elections don't matter, you know? Do you think the rise of Bernie in 2016 brought all these lefties out of the woodwork, thinking they legitimately can win elections with even more extreme left candidates? Maybe. I don't like to confuse that too much, though, with the thing that exists today. Because, like, Bernie, you know, for all of his faults, did come out of nowhere. And he had a respectable, he wasn't going to beat Hillary, but he had a respectable performance against Hillary. And Bernie was a real candidate, even in 2020, even though he never really crossed that, like, 1/3 threshold. He was still a real candidate. But the stuff that exists today online is just, it's way, 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 way different. It's not good. It's not good. Did you see Hassan attacking Palestinian activists who went on H3? This is a new low for this clown. I have not yet. We might watch that today, though. The last thing that I wrote down, I really was just going crazy. This is just like a reminder, don't take the right seriously on anything, and don't ever let them morally police you on anything. Remember, the right is doing politics. Their goal is to attack you no matter what. They have no values. Dude, reading the Elon Musk article and everything, like, I'm just trying to imagine, you know how much these guys came down on fucking Hunter Biden supposedly for smoking crack? Or not supposedly, he was a crackhead. But like they come down on this guy so hard for it. Meanwhile, like, all of the Elon Musk drug shit, they literally are absolutely fucking silent on. They don't have a single thing in the fucking world to say. Also, remember, in case you guys forgot, Hunter Biden was not part of the government. He wasn't an elected official. He had literally nothing to fucking do with any of that. So listen, I agree with respect to internet people, but empirically, the far left are constantly voting Dem more than like any other demo. They're annoying on Twitter and poison discourse, but they vote for the Dem. Bernie voters voted Hillary more than Hillary voters voted Obama after the 2000 primary. So when I talk about the far left, remember in our minds, we have to disconnect what's going on online with like real world voters. Most of the people, my guess is 80% of people that voted for Bernie Sanders, I'm pulling this number out of my ass, 50 to 80%, I'll leave myself whatever, are not like the crazy far left people. They're not the crazy far left line. They're probably people that heard Bernie Sanders stuff. Remember, most people are not that politically plugged in. They probably heard Bernie Sanders speak like, oh, free education, that sounds sick, and social health care, yeah, we should have that. And they're like, oh, fuck it, vote for Bernie. They're not like, we need a restructuring of the capitalist framework because the bourgeois has been taking advantage of the proletariat for too long and all of capitalism has to fall and blah, 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 right? Like, they're not, the average Bernie voter was not like that. Even if it might seem that way because what was online, I don't believe the average Bernie voter was like that.